Thanks for the introduction. It's certainly a pleasure to be here. Well, to jump right into it, well, there's certainly, as you're walking around the trade shows today and you're comparing prices, you realize that there are a lot of opportunities for savings in China, but a lot of you, I imagine, are also concerned about issues of how do you control the quality, how do you avoid having your brands and products knocked off while trying to achieve these savings. So today I simply wanted to share some of my experiences on helping smaller companies overcome these barriers in China. Perhaps to start off, let me give you a little bit about my background and a feel for my perspective on China. I'm originally from the Buffalo, New York area, back in the U.S. I moved to China about 7 years ago full-time. After graduation from business school, I came to China and was primarily focused on helping American companies set up their operations, setting up wholly owned foreign enterprises or joint ventures. But for every joint venture we set up, there would be 10 companies from Europe and the States that simply wanted to source products in China. And of those 10, 9 were concerned about quality control and IPR issues. So 5 years ago, I helped form PassageMaker, which was set up specifically to address those concerns. And over the years, I've helped structure sourcing investments in over 50 production classes, ranging from equipment for nuclear power plants all the way over to toys for rubber duckies and bathtub toys, so a wide range. Despite a decade in Asia, I don't want to claim to be an expert or a know-it-all on China. This is a very complex and constantly changing marketplace. One figure that I like to reference is a quarter of mankind are in China, spread over 4 million square miles, so it's simply massive. Today I'm hoping to just share some of my experiences with you. Now, before we dive into the presentation, I'd like to I'd like to tell you what I'm not going to discuss today, and that's the concept that China is somehow uniquely different, or that you have to worry so much about cultural misunderstandings. Generally speaking, the Chinese in the mainland are very open to Western business practices, and your cultural understanding is not a prerequisite. It certainly helps, but it's not something to lose sleep over. After all, you are the buyer with the pocketbook, and that's what counts anywhere in the world. So they're very forgiving of cultural mistakes. I can give you one personal example. A few years ago, I was a lead negotiator structuring a purchasing project with a large factory, and for 3 days in a row we had a meeting where my counterpart on the supply side was the owner's daughter, very professional businesswoman, would always come dressed in a very professional business attire, the company uniform. Her hair was done very plain, a very serious negotiator. So after 3 days of negotiation, we struck a deal, and there was often the deal is followed by a banquet. So after signing the contract, there was the banquet, and I'm at the head table. Across from me is the owner. Next to me is the owner's daughter, but I didn't recognize her because she wasn't wearing her uniform and she had changed her hairstyle. So the owner of the company recognized that, and he said, "Mike, don't you remember my daughter?" And I was off. I was taken a bit back, and then I wanted to say in good Chinese, what I wanted to say was, "I'm sorry, this is the first time that I've seen her out of her uniform." But what I said was, "This is the first time I've seen your daughter with her clothes on." So, despite that, we're still doing business to this day. So if we can get over that kind of blatant mistake, then don't worry too much about what may happen with mistranslations or miscommunication. So let's dive right into the first issue, which is how do you find a supplier in China? Everything, it seems to be, is made in China, and there's certainly a wide range of product from okay quality that is dirt cheap to very high-end, high technology, very expensive. So the issue really is how do you find the best supplier for you in terms of pricing, quality, and lead time. You could get off the plane here in Hong Kong, raise your hand, say, "I'd like to buy ball bearings," and there'll be 100 companies saying that they can arrange ball bearings. But in reality, there are only a handful of suppliers that would be a perfect match for you. So our goal is how to find the right supplier in China. Maybe to start off, we can give an overview of the sourcing situation in China, a bit of what you could call the lay of the land. Because sourcing in China is different from other sourcing destinations around the world in that in the mainland we're still dealing with the legacy of the state-controlled economy, mainly in the form of the FTC, or the Foreign Trade Corporation, goes by many different names: import-export, trading company, basically an intermediary. Kind of drawing on the ball bearings analogy, back during the old system, there would be a giant state-owned enterprise called something like the Guangzhou No. 6 ball bearing manufacturer. And that one factory would focus just on making ball bearings, and then the government would appoint an import-export company or a trading company to represent that factory to the world. So what you had was a factory that certainly had core capabilities in manufacturing, but limited marketing abilities. On the other side, you had a foreign trade corporation that had excellent marketing abilities, spoke English, would go to the trade shows, fully understood the market. They had the import-export licensing and could deal in foreign currency. So that's the old system. Fast forward to today, and what you have is a system in transition where the state-owned enterprises have been privatized. Just about anybody can get an import-export license these days, even a Western company like PassageMaker. So you've got these legitimate manufacturers that are very good at making a product, but they're not savvy in terms of presenting themselves and marketing to the world. On the other hand, you've got these very professional marketing companies in the form of the import-export agent or trading company that may not have a legitimate ownership in the factory. So it's not very transparent. We'll go over in a few minutes about what are some of the dangers and how to overcome that. Looking at just the geography, a bit of the lay of the land, everyone knows China is a huge place, and the government now is having policies to open up the West and develop the rural areas. However, still, there are primarily two major destinations for sourcing. That's the Pearl River Delta, Guangzhou and Hong Kong, as well as the Yangtze River Delta based around Zhejiang and Shanghai. So those are two key areas you want to focus on if you're new to China. However, these two areas around Shanghai and around Hong Kong have very different histories, and it's important you understand those histories when structuring your sourcing strategy. Let's talk about the Pearl River Delta. For one, from day one, it was focused on manufacturing for export. So the factories here had a lot of investment from Hong Kong, Taiwan, and then the West, and they're used to putting customers first, understanding quality, selling a product into the Western market. So generally, you'll find a full understanding of your quality concerns in South China. On the other hand, up by the Shanghai area, Shanghai has a long history of manufacturing. However, the manufacturing base developed to service the metropolitan area of Shanghai. So its focus was always on price, selling into China. That has resulted in some great pricing, but also some ruthless competition. Just from an informal study that I've done, when we run into IPR issues, probably 3/4 of them are from the Yangtze River Delta. So it can be a dangerous place to do business, but they're a great pricing. So know what you're getting into when you start buying from that area. However, it's not all bad. There are many professional factories up there, and this is just a rule of thumb. I'm personally very partial to the Pearl River Delta, and we set up our operations here mainly because within 3 hours of our facility in Dongguan, we can find just about any raw material or sub-supplier component that we need. So you've got the Pearl River Delta and the Yangtze River Delta, but they're also, it's kind of strange, random areas of competency. For example, because of government policies or access to raw materials, there'll be small towns in China where the entire town or the city focuses on one product. If you want to buy Christmas trees, there are cities in Zhejiang. If you want to buy office furniture, Hojie is a great place here in Dongguan. We found a project where we're sourcing electronic fuel pumps for the auto industry, and it turns out that 80% of all fuel pumps coming out of China are made from one town called Rayon in Zhejiang. And the reason it's important to know that, if you go into that small town and you give someone your blueprints on a design, you can pretty much rest assured that everyone in that town is going to know about your designs in a short amount of time. So you have to be very careful about what information you disclose and when. So that's a little bit of an understanding of the lay of the land. Now let's talk about how do you qualify a vendor.